I am so well rested after that 24-hour readathon. I cannot even begin to explain it to you guys. I'm excited. Are you guys excited? I'm excited. Hello book reading friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Melanie, and today I am here to talk about all the books that I want to read in February, also known as my February TBR. Now, I tried to keep it realistic, as I know that February is not the longest month of the year, so I tried to keep a little bit of a realistic expectation while also giving myself options so as to not cage myself in with books, because as you know, I'm a mood reader. But anywho, I find myself reading more books when I have an order and when I have a selection, a specific selection to pick from in the month. So that is why I end up doing a TBR every month. And before I get carried away and talk about all of the books that I plan to read this month, I really need to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor. Yes, you heard it right. Today's sponsor, Book of the Month. Book of the Month is a super popular and fast-growing online book service for readers, and their mission is to help promote new and emerging authors and help readers discover books they love. Their team vets hundreds of books each month and gives readers their choice from a curated selection of new and early release titles, so you can spend more time reading and less time researching. Book of the Month is risk-free. You can literally skip any month, anytime, and you will not be charged for your fee that month. Plus, and this is my personal favorite part, you can get your first book for $9.99 using the code FEBREADS. As you know, I've been subscribed to Book of the Month for months now, and I absolutely love what they offer, especially to us avid readers. And they simplify not only the book search for you, but they also provide lower price points so that it's more accessible for a lot more people. And these are actually all of the books that they chose for February. First off, we have The Kinda Sly by Nancy Johnson, and this is their contemporary fiction pick for the month. And this sweeping story traces a woman's return to her struggling hometown and the hope she finds in confronting her past. Their suspense pick for the month is Girl A by Abigail Dean, and this one is a haunting exploration of trauma and survival and a gripping portrait of family, violence, and memory. For literary fiction, we have Infinite Country by Patricia Engel, and this one is set to be a multi-generational story following the lives of one Colombian family separated by borders. Now, as a fellow Latina, this is definitely a book that interests me. Anything that has to do with Latinx cultures, written by Latinx authors, as you know, is something that I definitely want to read. For their historical fiction, they have The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, who is a very famous and repeat author for Book of the Month. And in this historical fiction, from the Texas plains to the California coast, this Depression-era tale follows a family striving for a better life. And last but not least is the one book that I am sure a lot of people are looking forward to read this month, because it is finally out, and that is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. And when a classic Virgo gets spontaneously married, she starts re-examining her life and what it is she truly wants. So if you're interested in signing up for Book of the Month, I will be leaving my link down below, and you can use the code FEBREADS to get your first book for $9.99, and every add-on will also be $9.99 if you're like me and you personally want to get more than one book. So again, thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video, and without further ado, let's get right into the books that I want to read in February. Okay, so February is going to be a month where I feel I'm going to read a little bit of everything. Now for February, I have fantasy, I've got sci-fi, I've got romance. What else do I have in here? I've got contemporary. Will I get to all of them? I am still unsure just because the month is so short, but I certainly will try my hardest to get to all of them. So the first two books I know I am most definitely getting to in February are these two right here, which, as you know, I am hosting a read-along for the Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas, because the fourth book, A Court of Silver Flames, is finally out this month. It comes out on the 16th of February, and I could not be more ecstatic for that book, so we definitely have to prepare for that, which is why I am both reading A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, which is the third book in the series, and I am also reading the novella, which I have actually never read, and this is A Court of Frost and Starlight. Now for the read-along, we are tackling both of these books, so we can jump right into A Court of Silver Flames in March, because I definitely need to know what happens with Nesta. Again, I feel like these books need no introduction. We all know I love them. We all know I've read them like a million times, and from what I've heard, which I don't know if it's factual or not because I actually haven't read the book, this is set to be like a prologue for the fourth book. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I'm very excited to dive in and see what I think, because I know this is not a lot of people's favorites, so safe to say I am very much intrigued. I am also going to try and finish this book just because I actually started it, so I don't want to leave it hanging, and that is Cast in Firelight by Dana Swift. This one is a fantasy. It came out in January, and from what I have heard, it has been getting glowing reviews. A lot of people have been loving it. I am only like 40 pages in. It is very South Asian inspired, and the world is very interested in this one. I will say it's very unique because I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it. So in this one, we follow Adra and Jaden as they enter an arranged marriage, and they are actually arranged in marriage since a very young age. Jaden has spent his entire life away from home, and he is just awaiting that moment where he can actually go back home and spend time with his family, and the only thing that Adra wants is to prove her worth to her people and to her family. Except when the criminal underbelly of Belwar starts rising and they start making a move for control, both of these individuals will take to secret identities in order to save their people. I really want to see how the rest of the story will develop. I've heard that there's a lot of political intrigue, there's a lot of magic, of course, so it's definitely an interesting world, so let's see if I actually get to finish this one this month. The next one is a book that by the time I put this video up, this book will already be out because it comes out February 2nd, and it is actually Muted by Tami Charles. I have already talked about this book before, and it is actually one of my most anticipated releases for the year. It is written in verse, and the synopsis of this book kind of reminds me of Grown in the sense that it deals a lot with the music industry and the darker side of it. In this one, we follow Denver, Dolly, and Shaq, who all have this big dream of pursuing music professionally and for that to be their careers. And when they sing themselves into the orbit of Sean Mercury Ellis, who is one of the bigger names in the R&B music genre, they find themselves entangled in this very toxic world. And I cannot wait to dive into this one because I just know it'll be a gorgeous story, and the fact that it's in verse, I know it'll only hit harder. Another book that I am in the midst of because I could not wait to read one more romance. I am trying to read a little bit more romance in February. I think it's only fitting given the time of year, and it is actually You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria. This is everything that a Latinx person could want. It's got the drama, it's got the telenovela, it's got the actors, it's got the steam, it's got the romance. It's literally everything that I would love packed into one book. In this one, we follow Jasmine Rodriguez, who after a very messy breakup, she ends up in the tabloids and on the cover of every single magazine she never thought she'd be a cover of. She promises herself after this scandal that she will never be on the tabloids again unless it is with good reason. She thinks following her plan will be easy, except there's one Ashton Suarez to put into the mix. Now, after Ashton was killed off in his last telenovela, he thinks his career is dying along that role that he had. And so going into this new show, he really is a man on a mission, and he comes to Jasmine with a deal that sounds very enticing for the both of them. Practice that chemistry behind the scenes so that their show is the best that it can be. I think it's safe to say practicing chemistry behind the scenes will lead to some very messy stuff, to some overly personal territory that they both should not be getting into in the midst of filming, especially from where they're coming from in previous matters in their career. But I am excited to see all of that unfold. I am excited to see these characters, to meet them, to see their stories, and just to get wrapped up in this telenovela ploy with a lot of steam and romance. I'm ready for all of it. The next romance that I want to read this month is actually Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. Now, when I read the synopsis for this one quite recently, I definitely knew that I needed to get this book, and then when it showed up from the Book of the Month picks, I was literally ecstatic because I could read this right away. In this book, we follow Grace Porter, and after completing her PhD in astronomy, she decides to go to Las Vegas to celebrate. Now, it's safe to say Grace is a very straight-A student, does not stray away from her plans. She is very, very methodical. Except then she's not, because she actually gets super drunk in Vegas and she ends up marrying this stranger, this woman that she has never seen before. And struggling with all of her familiar expectations, Grace decides to flee her home in Portland to go to New York City with this new wife in the hopes of getting to know each other better. In New York, she's able to ignore all of the constant questions about her future and falls hard for her creative and gorgeous wife, Yuki Yamamoto. But when reality comes crashing in, Grace must face what she's been running from all along: the fears that make us human and the need for connection, especially when navigating the messiness of adulthood. I don't know why the concept of this very professional person getting married in Vegas, it's sapphic, it's just, it sounds like a thrilling ride of self-discovery and self-love and acceptance, and I am here for all of it. So I definitely want to read this one this month. I think it'll be equal parts funny as it will be deep. I'm pulling out all of the books in verse this month. My might be a little bit of a cheat, but I really want to read this one. I have the audiobook for this one, so I definitely want to tackle it, and it is Punching the Air by Ibi Zoboi and Dr. Yusef Salam. I've talked about this book several times before, and I've expressed my excitement for this book several times as well, and I think it is finally time I get off my ass and actually read it, because at this point I'll keep talking about this book without having read it. In this one we follow Amal Shahid, who has been a poet and an artist his entire life, and even if he attends this very diverse art school, because of a biased system, he is seen as disruptive and unmotivated. And everything takes a turn once boys just being boys turns out to be true, only if those boys are white. Suddenly at 16 years old, Amal finds himself convicted of a crime he did not commit. Despair and rage start to sink him until he realizes that words have much more power than he thought possible, and even if his story has been written a certain way, he is convinced that he'll be able to change it. It seems like a very powerful story. I know the writing will be beautiful. I can't wait to listen to these words and cry my eyes out, because if I'm being honest, I'm a crybaby, I'm a wuss, what else is new? So I'm very excited for the exploration that this book will have about the system and how to navigate it, even in times where it seems difficult to do so. So I think this is definitely one of those books that I will be reading earlier in the month, just because I can't wait to get to it. Another book that I have talked about on my channel several times before, it's actually a short one, so I know I can read this in one sitting. I know it's definitely gonna be a thrilling ride, and one that I actually got for Book of the Month last month, I think. I totally got this in January, I feel. And it is The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. In this world, it is set up that the multiverse is real, and multiverse travel is very, very much possible. There is also one thing that is very possible in these worlds, and that is doppelgangers, double self. And Kara knows everything about that, because all of her double selves seem to be doing exceptionally well at dying, because 372 of them have already died. She has 8 remaining doppelgangers, and trouble soon finds her when one of them actually is found dead in a very mysterious way. And Kara will find herself traveling through dimensions, through universes, to find out exactly what is happening to her double selves, except that she finds herself in a very troubling situation where she could potentially reveal a plot that will not only change the course of her life, but the entire multiverse as well. This book also features a sapphic romance, and it kind of seems like an office romance in a very futuristic and spacey world, but I'm mostly excited to see the multiverse stock in this book. It's something that is very fascinating to me. And not only that, I've also really been in love with the idea of doppelganger since I was really young. And I don't know how many of you guys have heard this. I'm sure everyone has heard of this, but there is 7 different versions of you in this world, and you all look the exact same. That scared me so much when I was younger, because I could not imagine a scenario where 7 other different versions of me were alive. So it's definitely something that I'm curious exploring in this novel. Another book that I really want to tackle this month as well, I don't know how many of these I'll actually get to, but looking at them, the longest book in my TBR is actually AquaWar. Everything else is on the shorter end of things, and I also have 2 novels in verse, so I feel like it's realistic for me to tackle all of these books this month. So this one is definitely one that I'm including, and it is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. And I will never stop saying the tagline for this book, because it is so incredible. A god will return when the earth and sky converge under the black sun. You guys know I have this fascination for gods and deities and all of that in books. Whenever I read a synopsis and that is a part of it, you better bet Mel Reeds is buying that book. Like, no questions asked, I am spending my money on it. That was the first thing that really grabbed me with this book. It is a sci-fi fantasy. We have the holy city of Toba, in which the winter solstice is seen as a cause for renewal and celebration. However, this particular year it overlaps with a solar eclipse, which, as it has been announced, will be an unbalance for the world. And while that is happening, we have the captain of a ship that is sailing and must arrive by the winter solstice. Her name is Ciala, and she has only one passenger on her ship, and that is Serapio. And he is very much harmless, but in Ciala's eyes, whomever is harmless is typically the one that ends up being the villain. I've actually talked about this before, but I've been meaning to read this book for a while, and not only that, I also really want to get more into the sci-fi genre. So this and The Space Between Worlds sounds like the perfect opportunity to do so. So I cannot wait to meet Serapio and Ciala. I know a lot of people tweet about being Serapio stans and loving Serapio, and Serapio being like their favorite fictional character. And I'm like, I need to meet this person. I need to know if he's truly harmless or if he's a villain. I also need to see what will happen when the sun and the moon converge. I also need to see whom this god is. It is a part of a duology or a series. I am not sure, but but I'll read it. The next book is the last book that I need to read to complete all of my readings from this author, so I'm definitely excited to get to it. And this is also a buddy read with one of my friends here from Booktube, Sabine from Sabine's Book Nook, so I will leave her link down below. Her content is incredible. I've been watching her for such a long time now that it just felt surreal to talk to her one-on-one and actually become friends with her. And we are actually starting this buddy read this week, so I will have thoughts very, very soon for y'all. And it is actually With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is her only book written in prose as opposed to verse. So you can rest assured, your girl is very intrigued to see how this will go down because I loved The Poet X. Clap When You Land was also a fantastic read, and I know a lot of people don't seem to like her prose as much as her verse. I will most likely be also doing audio while I read with my eyes because I have the audiobook as well, and I just love her voice. Like, her narration skills are incredible. And in this one, we follow Emoni Santiago, who is very much used to making all of the tough decisions in life. Everything that she has done for her daughter and her abuela, and having a daughter so early on in her life has made her completely shift around her motivations, her goals, and what she wants to do long term. The only place where she can let loose and completely disregard all of the stress and worry that she has in her personal life is the kitchen. So this is a book that revolves around food a lot, and I just love it because as a Latina, I remember having so many fond memories in the kitchen with my dad and with my mom and with my family in general. It's literally the place where we let loose. And listen to this, listen, because you guys know things that get me are taglines, and usually the very last paragraph of books, if they're redacted well, it just gets to me. Yet despite the rules she's made for her life and everyone else's rules, which she refuses to play by, once Emoni starts cooking, her only choice is to let her talent break free. Chills all over my body. My eyes just instantly get teary. I need to meet Emoni's character. If there is one thing that I very much enjoy with Elizabeth Acevedo and her writing is her craft of character. I just think she really encompasses what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a strong Latina, and what it is to overcome all of those struggles when you come from a background that doesn't really benefit you and it doesn't necessarily propel you forward, so you have to create that space for yourself. And I love the way that Elizabeth handles all of those themes and topics, so I really want to see how she deals with all of those and more in this book. Next up, I have a book that I actually don't have physically, but it will arrive this week because I ordered it during the weekend, so I think it will be delivered to my PO box today. It should have already been delivered, and it will probably get here midweek to the end of the week, so I will get to this as soon as it gets here. You better bet I am dropping everything to read this book because I've heard incredible things about it and I need to experience it myself. And it is actually Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. Another thing that I have been very vocal about is reading a lot more middle grade this year, and I genuinely think, based on the reviews that I've heard of this book and all of the love that people have been giving it, this will be a great start to getting back into it and also exploring new and emerging authors, so I really want to get into this one. And in this one, we follow 13-year-old Amari Peters after the disappearance of her brother Quentin, and nobody is making a big deal out of his disappearance, and Amari is constantly wondering why this is not on the news, why this is not on the newspaper, why nobody is making a big deal out of it when her big brother has gone missing. And in the midst of her desperation, Amari actually found a ticking briefcase in her brother's room, a briefcase that is meant only for her eyes. Quentin, it seems, had a lot more to hide than she ever knew, and he has left her a very unique nomination for a summer tryout at the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. Amari will have to enter this competition with some of the wealthiest kids who have already been in this fantastical world, who already know everything that it has to offer, from its magic to its history to its creatures, and Amari has no idea about any of this. Amari feels very much alone, and as she starts discovering all of these things in this very secret world, it's do or die, because if she doesn't succeed, she may never get Quentin back. It just seems like the most wholesome, meaningful story. I honestly cannot wait to read this one. As I said, as soon as this gets here, I am literally dropping everything in my TBR to get to it. In reality, those are 11 books, and those are the 11 books that I really genuinely want and need to get to this month. However, other books that I have on my radar for possible reads throughout the month include All the Boys I've Loved Before, the entirety of the trilogy, because I would like to read them before the movie comes out. Will I get to it realistically? I don't know. I do have the ebooks now, and I typically read ebooks very fast, but are they a priority compared to everything else on my TBR that I want and need to get done? Probably not, but I still have them on my radar. Another book that I really have on my radar for February, but I don't know if I'll get to it, is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. As you know, I've talked about this book before as well. It's about two public personalities who have very different jobs and they both go viral for very different reasons, but on the sidelines, they both write fan fiction for the TV show that the guy is on, which he could get into a lot of trouble for. And they start developing this relationship. I don't know if it's steamy or not, but it is a romance. The main character is a plus size main character. The characters I also believe are a little bit older. I think they're well into their late 30s, if not into their early 40s. So it's definitely unlike any other romance that I have read before, because they're usually in their 20s, early 30s. So this is definitely one that I am keeping an eye out if I can get to it. Another book that I talked about in my previous book haul is actually Yesterday is History by Kosoku Jackson. Another book that I'd really like to get to, and we follow a character who, after getting a liver transplant, actually gets the power to travel through time, and he finds himself torn between these two guys, one from the present and one from the past, and he will have to deal with acquiring these new powers, learning how to use them, and learning about himself and where he truly belongs. So this is another book that I believe comes out February 2nd. I might be wrong, but definitely another book that I'd like to tackle in February. And that is where I'm cutting it, because I honestly have so many books on my bookshelf and on my phone, like on my ebooks, on my audiobooks, that I really want to get to soon. But realistically speaking, there's not enough time for all the books that I want to read, especially this month. I gotta keep it real. So yeah, those are all the books that I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a huge thumbs up, and also comment down below what you are planning on reading in February, or if you have read any of these books, definitely let me know, because I am really interested to know what you think of any of these books if you have. And if you reach the end of the video, leave down below some sun emojis in honor of Black Sun, which I've been meaning to read ever since I haven't gotten to it yet, but I definitely will in February, so let's leave some sun emojis down below for that. Don't forget to subscribe down below for more bookish content if you haven't already. I am constantly uploading videos that I am sure you guys don't want to miss, as well as I am going live throughout the week doing my weekly reading sprints. And you can also follow me on all of my social medias, which are always linked down below as well. I have an Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, and an Amazon wish list. And I just need to give out a huge final thank you to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video and for being so supportive of our community as they have been. So if you do want to sign up for Book of the Month, again, don't forget that you can do so down below using my link and using the code FEBREADS to get your first book for $9.99. And again, there's a lot of other books on their website that you can get add-ons for. They have literally everything in there. So you better go browse their website, because you guys know. There's never enough book buying in this household. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I will see you on the next one. Bye guys.